All right, Shamrat, we get started. It's 11 o'clock. We would like to be punctual, being planning professionals.
Yeah,
So thanks very much for joining in, Samrat. It is a very, very interesting topic to discuss with you. And uh, thanks for agreeing also for, to talk on Saturday and right after your holiday.
mhm.
So from behalf of all the members, I would like to thank you and welcome you to this talk. Now, the topic here is the startup and back experience. So, you are somebody who was working in a Fortune 500 company, then moved to a startup, spent few years there, and now you're back at Wellspun, leading the supply chain role. So, the format of the discussion is that usually we don't spend time formally introducing the speaker, because the whole idea is to know you through this talk over next 60 minutes or so, right? So I want you to start and first tell us about your role in Wellspun today, and then we will rewind when you joined a startup, right? So tell us about your role today in Wellspun.
Yeah, yeah. No, so Rishi, thanks for giving us the platform, giving me the platform to talk about my journey. I know we keep on discussing, and you thought that, hey, why not share this with others as well? It's a privilege as well. So, starting as your question was regarding my role in Wellspun. So, I head the supply chain for the Wellspun India business, okay, which is the Wellspun Retail, which has uh, different modes of channels. So, you have the wholesale retailing, wholesale channel, which has the sales and distribution channel, which you talk about, right? Usually the distributor retailer led channel. You have the modern trade outlets, you have the e-com outlets, you have the hospitality business. So we have B2B businesses, and so variety of domains we have in Wellspun, and I lead that for the India business, right? Now that my role and my team, what they do is generally the entire transportation is done by my team, end to end. Be it e-commerce, or be it the last mile, or be it the usual general trade transportation. The entire demand planning for the retail business is done by my team. The entire warehousing, okay, be it the e-commerce warehousing, or be it the B2B warehousing, or different formats. So everything is done by my team. And we are slowly getting into the planning roles with the plant. Along with that, I was also awarded the master data management role, which is a critical
Okay.
part of any business. And if your data is messed up, the most impacted, of course, along with others, are the supply chain team as well, right? And so somehow people thought that it's best to reside with the supply chain team. So I do that as well. So that's kind of my role in
Interesting.
Wellspun. Yeah.
Interesting. And Wellspun as a business has been doing pretty well, as I understand from a couple of our last discussions. So, despite COVID, and in fact, you have come very strongly post COVID, and especially in this Diwali season, right? So, it's been quite busy.
you know, that's where your demand planning knowledge completely goes for a toss. So I have been working as a demand planner for the last, as a planner, as a demand planner for over 8 to 10 years, and then I moved into in my startup role also moved into creating demand planning softwares in the likes of what you also have done, Rishi. And then put all your experience together, and you come and face something like COVID, and you expect that, okay, this is going to happen, and it shows that yes, demand planning never, the focus is never right, right? That was very funny. When this entire mess started, we were like, oh, close down production, okay, we are going to have a huge amount of inventory, and really the orders are getting cancelled, the early orders, the shops are shutting down in India, abroad. So Wellspun usually does around 80-90% of the business abroad. Okay, I manage the India part, which is significantly smaller than the export part. But having said that, the scenario in both the businesses, the challenges are the same. And suddenly, from a completely a no-show to zero sales to complete cut down in production to suddenly in July getting the early orders and factories getting overbooked for the next, I don't know, months, and now it is going into years. So we are
Wow.
complete booked on capacity. We are doing excellent in terms of orders. People are buying the sheets, the towels, and all different sort of home textiles. And we are still trying to understand why. Okay, I'll not lie that, okay, we have discovered all the answers and we are there. Oh, this is the reason why people are buying. Of course, we have known some part of it, health, hygiene, and all, but still we are wondering that how is that the demand is so strong. Coming to the India business, we had a fabulous Diwali, one of the best Diwalis we had in many, and in the home textile business, you know, Rishi, that Diwali plays a very, very important role. I mean, it's like a good chunk of the entire year sales is Diwali, right?
Yeah.
And we were earlier cutting down production and saying, oh, let's go a little easy on Diwali because otherwise we'll land up on huge amount of stocks, inventory, warehousing costs. And suddenly we are like, wow, where are all the stocks gone? So that's kind of the shift we have seen in sudden times, and we are still very closely watching the market to see how things are. Yeah.
That's awesome, and congratulations to you for that, because must have been a very, very pleasant experience. And we would also like to understand when we come back to Wellspan again and how your startup experience helped you. But for now, let's rewind and go back to the time. I think you were last with General Mills before you took the plunge.
Yeah.
Okay, and you were in the demand planning team in General Mills. So tell us about what took you to take that decision of moving to a startup. What was playing in your mind? How did all that scenario played out, both from professional and support from home? All right, so take us back to General Mills.
And I think before getting into General Mills, a little bit about a little more
Okay.
past. So I started with Unilever, and I started with I took the plunge into in the supply chain team, and also into the demand planning team. Okay, so that's where my journey started. So truly speaking, if anyone goes back and asks, did I plan a lot about getting into demand planning, getting into supply? Not really. I mean, I got something, I took it. Demand planning came our way. There was fantastic mentors in Unilever, and we had a really, really good sale through in Unilever. Coming to General Mills was a completely different experience. And then I'll come to the startup. But General Mills, I started as a demand planner, and then I started moving into managing the entire demand planning team. And along with the entire demand planning team, okay, which is actually a big team, we were managing the entire demand planning and forecasting sitting out of India for the entire US businesses, and then the other geographies as well. So I started managing the supply chain analytics as well. Okay, so it was fairly a big team. So, but and the reason I was talking to you about a little bit about my past there, and because that will build up into why I took the plunge. So what happens in a very, very big organization, and with all due respect, because those are institutes, those are literally universities. You go in and you go deep into a domain, you learn so much, and you feel that, my goodness, I'm on the top of the world. And then you change course, you get into a different field, and then you have so much to learn again. The supply chain analytics, demand planning, supply planning, all these things, we went for multiple years, we were doing the same thing again and again. So you gain that expertise. But what also you miss is the holistic view, right? That, okay, you are in supply chain, and you are managing demand planning and others so well. Forget about sales, forget about design, forget about any other functions which all organization has. You are too deep into your own domain that you don't kind of appreciate what's going around you. That's where I found a little bit of miss. Okay, and then so many years of experience, you are too deep, and then when you want to grow in your career, I'll be very candid here, Rishi.
Yes. Yeah.
When you want to grow in your career, then you feel that, my God, I am like master of these things, but I don't know the rest. How do I become a supply chain head, or how do I become how do I grow in my career with no experience of transportation, warehousing, and other aspects, important aspects of supply chain? So that kept me wondering. That's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it was, I thought that I've achieved too much too soon. Okay, moved into the higher rungs into the organization, and the path was very rosy. To be very honest, there were rosy jobs in the US, which was being offered, and it was so cozy. I literally didn't have to work because I had a huge team. Everything was set, and things were running out like thin slices of butter every day, and it was so smooth. But that's where boredom got in. I was like, man, I'm too young. I cannot do this. I cannot keep on doing this. I need a change. I need to do something different. So I started looking around, and I was starting to look around the world, and then I understood that, man, with so many years of experience, I literally know zero. I don't know anything. That's the first feeling which I got, and I said, no, I have to break this. I have to get out of this, and I have to do something different. Now, again, one more thing struck me is that that there are compromises which you will have to do if you have to get into that learning mode. I, uh, uh, you know, if I want to get into another organization and start to learn transportation, I have to start probably from the scratch, or at some other levels, which probably would have been very difficult for me at that point of time because you have other responsibilities, finances, and everything. Along my way came some very good opportunities into demand, supply, analytics, and all. But I said, okay, let me hold myself back and try exploring. And that's the point exactly when my old mentors, whom I put in very high regard, they came in, they approached me and said, hey, why don't you run this for me? Why don't you run this entire organization for me? I was like, dude, I don't know anything about running an organization. I just know how to run departments, and that's how siloed I am. I will go and screw up your entire organization, and you're putting a huge bet on me. But somehow they believed in me. Somehow they look at the caliber, they knew me for such a long time, and then they said that, Sam, you don't worry, you just come in and you run it for me. So that's when I jumped, and I said, okay, why not take the plunge? There are a lot of risks they told me about, but I'll talk to you about what I went through when I jumped, and I actually went through the journey at that young age. But yes, Rishi, so that's the moment I took the plunge, and I didn't think much. You asked about my family. I had to actually relocate to Delhi for the first stint.
Yeah, I remember.
It was into this was into last mile logistics company, more in the likes of Dunzo or Swiggy Genie. So that's what we conceptualized back in 2015, and we started running in that way. So that's the company I joined. That is the company I headed as the head of the organization, reporting into the founders directly. My wife kind of was not very supportive, right? My family was not very supportive. They were like, dude, you are doing very great here. I mean, everyone whom I asked, they were like, I think you should just stick around. You're expecting too much out of life. Why do you want to learn so much? It's okay, now you are getting a good salary. You're staying here. You're enjoying your trips all across the world. Just stay satisfied. So I said, no, yeah, but something is not satisfying. I'm not satisfied with the. I want to learn more. The job was fantastic, but I want to learn more. I convinced her somehow with my marketing skills to move to Delhi, which she was absolutely dead against. You change the job, it's okay. You go to a startup, I don't give a damn, but don't leave Mumbai. So that was difficult. Okay, more than the company, more than the job, moving the city was difficult, and we were not used to Delhi. वो कहावत है ना ऋषि की, दिल्ली का लड्डी जो खाए वो पछता है, जो ना खाए वो भी पछता है, right? So I thought that I've heard that enough. Let me go and take a bite of the laddu and try it out. So that's when I took the plunge and moved with my entire family, leaving the complete cozy job and moving into a startup with probably 10 employees who were about to join in, and I was like one of the earliest ones joining into the startup. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm really glad to know that you're being candid about the experience at home as well, because I know that is one of the toughest thing to overcome, to get the family support. And we can understand from their point of view as well. It's like rocking the stable boat and getting into unknown, and especially changing cities, that adds to the the risk factor and complexity for everybody. So but I think you would be glad that eventually you could, while you say it was your marketing skills, but you still got the support from your family, which was very, very good. So interesting. Now the next question that comes to my mind is that Oops. What was your initial experience in that startup? Early days, no posh office, I'm sure. No structure, all haphazard is what my experience has been, right? And you're coming from a multinational Fortune 500 company where the process is Six Sigma, and everything is and when very very posh offices, right, in a BKC or one of those locations. So you have that social status as well, and suddenly you find yourself in almost like a garage. So what was that experience, and did you ever feel कि यार क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं, whether my friends and family was right? I'm missing that nice office cafeteria and nice working atmosphere. So how was your experience there?
So once I moved to Delhi, okay, my family was settled, okay. I got a lot of support from my wife, okay, and my parents. So, another thing what plays at the back of your mind is that, and that's very true because my entire family is into business, okay. So my brother, good. My dad. So dad was supporting in the sense, yaar, kar le, dekha jayega jo hota hai, So I would not say, and I'll not say that is a must, that okay, if somebody is into business only, then somebody can take a plunge. Absolutely not. But then that helped you keeping at the back of your mind ki yaar theek hai, dekha jayega types, right? So when we went there, the first thing, forget about offices, I was in a car with my founder, and he was like, let's search an office. So there was no office basically. So, and wherever we went, the rents of course didn't make sense. And I was actually very open, and I was very cognizant of the fact that, and I've read so many interviews, and I've read about the startup world, talked to a lot of people, that I knew that, okay, this is something which is hitting me, it will come. So it's not a thing that, oh, no, how can you take us office like this? So we literally started from a garage in Mahipalpur in Delhi. So it was a warehouse and a small space to sit. That's it. And no glasses even partitioning, because the idea of not having a glass is that one is that you can spend on interiors. The second is you can quickly, there is no gate, there is no room, you can walk across the table and come across and see what's going on. It's a small space, 5-seater space, and the rest of the people by design used to stand because the idea was that, okay, you should spend more time on the floor. The idea of the founders was that we don't have money to spend. So, so we played it that way. But I think people were very cooperative. Everybody understood. So whoever joins in a startup during that early time, early stage, they don't expect those. So they know that this is where we are. We are going to probably get heavy returns, heavy benefits later on, but the experience is fantastic. A lot of people feel like me that, okay, dekha jayega, it will be a great ride. But then when you're into it, you understand how rocky the ride could be. I mean, I'll share you some experiences that it went so rocky at times that your point was that, yaar, kyun maine aaya? Why did I leave? I was better off there only. Right? All those things came onto my mind. I'll not lie. And it came so many times that, kya kar raha hu main idhar? Yaar, what am I doing? So yes, so that's where what about the office was and how the thoughts were. Yeah, Rishi.
Absolutely, I'm just totally enjoying, and I'm trying to imagine you in those that garage. So what are the things that you started learning immediately being in a startup, right? Except for, like, you were the third person probably after the founder, but thing that you've never done before, right? And that was one of the biggest reasons for you to take the plunge. So what are the things that immediately started coming your way? I'm sure demand planning was probably not even in picture, right? It's you're just starting, right? So what are the things that you started doing new, which you had never done before, and how did you approach it? Yeah.
So there were, luckily there were a couple of people who already got recruited and joined before me. They were from some very, very good startups, from the startups like Delivery, like Flipkart, where they were early stage guys who joined there, but then they wanted also a different experience. They moved to different companies, but they had that startup experience, So they joined in. I was lucky. So that was my team, and then I started recruiting. But the first thing which I had to unlearn is that there is nothing like, oh, people will come into you, they will fix up appointments, they will talk to you, just like what happens in a corporate. It is so abrupt. Okay, it is so impromptu that you just go there and there will be things hitting you every morning. Okay, you don't have time to forget about demand planning. You don't have time to plan, which is sometimes rewarding as well, because your business is growing so fast. Okay, that you have to just execute. So the thing is that how can you plan on the go and execute right there is the key. So
and that is not something you must be used to, right?
No, so
Despite all your experience.
when in General Mills, we used to, and which was very different from Unilever as well. So in General Mills, we never used to build the planes as we flew them. It was more around you had to discuss, you have to have these many weeks of calendarized discussions before you launch a product or launch any new thing. And then there will be a lot of pilot testings happening. Then there'll be results coming in. There'll be research agencies putting in, of course, and those make sense when the organization goes and puts in such a huge amount of money and betting on that. Here, it's more like you think of something in the morning and by afternoon that is implemented. And Rishi, that was the fun part.
Yes.
That was the fun part which I loved the most among all the other things, among all the issues which I faced and which I still miss, is that what do you think? In the morning you can plan, in the afternoon, and by evening it is executed, and you are like, wow, you get to know the results in the next 2 days. So you get a free hand of doing a lot of different things. Okay, that's how probably in a startup people learn so fast, because you are continuously learning, you are making mistakes and again learning, right? So you get a chance to actually fail a lot more in a startup than in a very cozy job.
Yeah, and that's very good point you brought, Samrat, about failure. So we have, in fact, it's all about failures, right? So it's probably 5 failures and 1 win, or probably even a bigger ratio, versus the bigger corporates where like failure is a big no, right? You're nervous about failing. Here you are excited about winning. If you win, then you are very excited. So that I totally share with you. So also tell us about, were you also part of the sales? Because in the startup, were you also going and pitching it to the customers?
So that is the beauty of a startup again. There are no boundaries.
Exactly. That's the reason I'm asking.
and that's the reason I actually joined in, because, what I was talking before some time was that I was too siloed. Okay. In Unilever or in General Mills, I was like working in one domain and I knew everything about our domain a lot. And I was doing that over years and becoming an expert. Here it's like, yaar, dhanda lana hai. That's it. Okay, yes. We have to do sales. We have to make sure operations are going on good. We have to take care of human resources. We have to, of course, take care of finance. We have to take care of all the consumer complaints, grudges, and legal cases which might come in. Right?
Absolutely.
So everything is your buddy, and you keep on learning from them. You are so nervous. You are so, and I remember myself having gone out from a very cozy atmosphere where you always have big legal team sitting with you, right? Things doesn't even come your way. I mean, you are in such a protected environment. Here you are just out there in the open. Okay, you just go there and anything can happen. Okay, any vendor can come in and put a complaint against you. They can file a police case that before even I joining in, that my money is pending for such and such time, and I've done the services, I've not got anything can happen. So. And that's the beauty, and that's where I think the core of the learning in a startup remains, because you get to connect the dots.
Yeah,
you get to connect the dots, that action and reaction, and one department's action and how it is helping or not helping the other department, and how can you win as a team. So that when we talk about in big companies that, oh, we do team building exercises, we have inter-department exercises. Here, all those are not required, because because it's a small team.
It's by default happening.
Yeah, by default it's happening. They know that, okay, we have to win the customer. There's no questions. If I am doing something and the supply guy is not doing something, there's no question raising huge emails. Oh, that's one more thing. Very less emails, by the way. It
There's
was
no time for
no
emails.
time for emails. It was so fast happening. You have to solve things so fast that you just get on a call with people, talk to them, go to the spot, and they are also very receptive. They understand that yes, we have to do this, otherwise we कल से पगार बंद हो जाएगी, right? So that's how it is. To be very
Absolutely.
raw, that's how it works. यार पगार नहीं आएगी अगर customer नहीं रहेगा तो. So it's very on the face.
One of the things that I learned very quickly, Samrat, and I was thinking, I wish I had got opportunity to learn this while I was in a bigger corporate, was appreciating other functions. Right. For example, I was in finance, and in Apple, finance was very powerful department. Nothing moved without finance approval. And I used to have very heated discussions with my sales head and sales team. And here I am doing sales myself, and trying to know those nuances, how difficult it is to get close sales, get that customer, and even give the forecast if I was asked by anybody. So and similarly, if whether you are in supply chain or finance, these are support functions, very critical. But I think in the startup you get very close to the sales and profitability part of the finance, right? That you whatever you're doing has a cost attached, so you get very close to that, which in a bigger corporate, being in either in a finance or supply chain, you are only concerned with that particular part. But sales is something that either of us would not very closely be involved. Now, how is it to face the customer in demand planning meeting? We talk so much with the sales team, and give us the accurate forecast, and
Right.
but if being in their shoes is, I think, to me, was the biggest learning. What was your experience among some of these?
And that is probably which is helping me in my current job, which we'll talk about later in terms of the transition. But I mean, sales are the breadwinners for any organization. Okay. I mean, they might have their own tantrums and all. Everybody has. We also have, right? As supply chain professionals or demand planners or whoever. That's a given. But they are the ones who go and get stuff done. Now, being in a support function who always keeps on supporting, my view was completely different when I was in not in their shoes, wherein I used to challenge them all the time, and I used to ask them, "Arey yaar, ye thik nahi hai, wo thik nahi hai, aap forecast thik se nahi dete ho, aap dhanda nahi late ho, ye nahi late ho," and all these complaints. I am doing my job perfectly, you are not doing your job perfectly, always comes in between, and they might feel the same. Having this startup experience changed my thought process completely 360 degree, because I was in their shoes and I was also there in the support shoes, right? So I have to make sure that both the functions work very collaboratively and win. And I'll give you some examples later about what type of things we are trying to do in Welspun, okay, having those experiences which I have, and how to get everyone connected, okay, where we are trying to remove those boundaries and letting people not think about what is sales, what is finance, what everyone is together to be successful. So this mentality of a startup, I think this is one mentality which is very important for any company to succeed, breaking the silos.
Right. And I see Vinesh is on the call, and we had a very good first conversation with him on that topic. So I would like to move further, and I know that you moved from Delhi to Kuala Lumpur, right? In that startup stint. How did that happen? Was it the same startup, or was it a different startup? Just, tell us more about that.
Sure, Rishi. So it was means one of the founders were same, right? So and there was a company known as Nex. So here the name of this company where I joined, this was the last mile logistics company which I was heading in Delhi, was Bookaville. The other company was Nex Incorporated. Now the headquarters were in the US. Okay, very small startup, and co-founded by one of the owners of my Delhi company, and we became co-founders for the Kuala Lumpur office, right? So next Kuala Lumpur and next South Asia, that's where I was the co-founder in. Now that move happened interestingly because there's a lot of shifts which happens in a startup, and you keep on failing a lot. Okay. And you never know that when and what things will work for you. You might be super excited about something, about your product, and you are so confident it will work, but guess what, people are not buying it, people are not but they're taking something which you might feel that no, how can people take this is not good. But that is life, that's how the world it's very difficult to understand. And I think a lot of changes also happened while we were in the Bookerville journey. It started with a P2P kind of a concept, point to point, or a person to person, like a Dunzo kind of a concept where you pick it up. There's an app, you pick up from one person, you deliver to the other person. But guess what? Probably we were too early in the race, right? At that point of time, that's another thing. You might have a brilliant idea, you might have the fantastic product, you might have the best of the best teams, but guess what? The market is not ready. The market is not yet aware, right? So Dunzo is doing good now. At that point of time, we started doing this. We were not getting much customers. Of course, they were like some fantastic help which we have done. For an example, a person, I still remember in startup you kind of remember those small appreciations throughout your life, and because that makes a difference to you and your team. A person forgetting his passport on his way to Australia, going near the airport and then remembering, oh gosh, I can't go 3 hours back to my home or 2 hours and get my passport from Noida. That's the point. That person does a Bookerville and then gets while he reaches the airport, in another half an hour or 1 hour, he gets the passport, because that's the speed. He pays a premium of $500 or so. But that makes a huge difference. He might have paid even 5,000 for that passport at that point of time. Or someone forgetting their spectacles, or someone wants to move certain things from here to office, forgetting the office keys while you are in office, 2 hours drive, and then you remember that, oh, I didn't bring my office keys. So all these small incidents, small customer experiences were there, but they weren't many. And a business can't be run just by emotions and the appreciations. It has to be run by the sheer volumes, and that's the fact of the matter. So we changed course. We moved to the B2B part, okay, wherein it's more around, oh, now I do the volume movement of Paytms or the Amazons or the Snapdeals or all these big guys, okay, wherein you go there, you collect the stuff, you come back to your warehouse, do the sorting, and do the last mile in Delhi NCR or across other parts of India, which is the model which most of the companies follow, right? But I still feel that had enough investments come in that domain, had we spent more, or had we stuck around for a longer time, or probably the timing was a little right. And those are the learnings, post learnings what we had, that could have been a much more successful business, which it is not today.
So that startup closed down, or
yeah, that startup closed down. That startup closed
and that's
down.
when you moved to this.
I actually sensed it quite early that this model is probably not what I had signed up for. I signed up for a totally different concept of a P2P. Had it been a regular courier business, probably I was means many other people can do the job, right? So that can be done by others as well. Plus, there was a pressing need for the other founder in Kuala Lumpur to run the entire supply chain consultancy out there. Okay, that was a totally different domain with supply chain analytics, consultancy, and everything. So that's the moment I moved there. I got a good opportunity with him, and I said, no, let me try that out. So that's how I moved to the Malaysian roles. Yeah.
Okay. And again, a movement of family and everything.
Everything. In 15 days, I decided and I moved. So
okay,
be it the visas and everything. Yeah.
And this was into software, right? You guys were developing an AI-based planning analytics software, if I remember.
You know, the good part, which I always heard from my mentor as well, is that once a big company happens, okay, say for an example, Apple, you worked in Apple, okay, the name sounds so nice now, right? It's so fancy and it is probably the best name in the world. But at that point of time when Jobs was there, and probably he did not conceptualize also, I don't know who conceptualized Apple, but it might look to be a funny kind of a thing, right? Once the story is over and you are at a level, then your past and your everything you have done associated with it sounds so rosy.
Yeah.
So hence, I would not say that we started with where we are today. It was an accident. Okay, we started with more of a supply chain. We got a good client in Malaysia, fantastic client, and we started developing certain analytical tools for them, and started very small, and then we moved into the software world. But it was primarily to do with supply chain optimizations, the network modeling, uh, uh, your building various tools, demand planning, forecasting softwares, or beyond forecasting tools is where it started from. And then we started moving into software development. So I had a team in Kuala Lumpur. Then I opened up an office in Hyderabad, okay, where my entire software team, we started recruiting. We had around 30 odd
Developers.
people, 30 odd software developers who sat there, and we were developing around more than 30 different products at one single time. Okay,
Wow.
so supply planning software, a demand planning software, a different cost optimization software. So you name it, network optimization software, a transportation module, module which is very similar to Salesforce. Salesforce.com. So our module was known as Sell, SELL. We didn't even look at Salesforce, but once we understood the customer need, a complete customization and a software was done. So similarly, we were developing multiple softwares in that domain, and the client was using them. So that was a very, very good model, wherein they were starting to use our softwares. We were getting into the market to sell, and things were very rosy at that point of time. Of course, that doesn't remain always. Some things happen. There's always
And you were targeting South Asia, but I remember that during one of our conversations, you were trying to get into the North America market as well, doing that. So what was the strategy?
Yeah. So again, we can all talk about strategies, but then the hunger was so much that you have the products with you, you have the people with you, you have to feed them every day. Forget about your own salaries. It's about them, and those are the people you have to feed. To be very honest, beggars are not choosers, and I say that with pride, because you in strategy you can tell that, oh, that was my strategy, but heck, there was no strategy. You were waiting for someone to purchase your product. You have put in so much of hard work around them. You know what you have developed. It is a fantastic tool, rather than probably any of the SAPs out there. We know what our tool does, but who believes in you? That's the sad part of a startup. Who believes in you? Till the time you are not a Flipkart or Amazon, or you get a big billion investments, they don't. So we were hungry. We were looking around, and we got across certain small stints in the US. We picked them up. We delivered. They were happy, and then we started entering into the North American markets. That's the honest truth about it.
Absolutely. I can relate to that. And you again brought a very important point that you don't have a big logo behind you, right? So when you're working in a big corporate, anything, from hiring to sales or whatever, you have that business card which everybody recognizes. Absolutely. Right? But now you are like, you created some logo which only you are proud of, nobody recognizes, right? So right from hiring, when you have to hire somebody, it's very different when you are sitting in a Welspun today or in a Unilever, or and then you can ask your HR to only top tier B schools and only IITs, or only IIMs, NITI and all those colleges. But you can't attract those people when you are in a startup, right? First of all, you can't afford them, and they are looking for brand names as well. So it's very difficult to get, which means that then you have to go to a tier 2, tier 3 colleges and invest double the time to groom them. So I want to know more about that. And similarly, from the sales perspective, when you are pitching to the companies, you are nobody, right? And they have to bet on you with the risk they see, right? Because they haven't heard of you, how would you deliver? Right. So it's that those things makes it even more tougher than developing a product, which probably comes easier because of your background, right? So tell us more about that. Because people don't realize it. The reason I'm asking is people don't realize it when we are working big corporate, or we will take a plunge and we'll start, and we'll become Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. But in reality hits you, these smaller things, right? Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
So true, and while you were saying, I was reflecting about what happened, because I completely missed this point. So true. And you are no one. You are no one. You are literally no one. You just have some 2-3 brands where you have worked with in the past, but that doesn't make any sense to anyone whom you're going to sell. True. I'll come to the sales part later. But I was so fortunate that the best and the brilliant minds from the best colleges actually took plunges. And that's where I initially thought that, no, man, nobody's going to even try us out. You know who was the HR in my organization? One of the best HRs I have ever had in my career, which is my wife. Because I can't afford another HR, right? That's the truth. So okay. She was HR, and she did a darn good job of getting the leads. So basically, she learned on the fly. Okay, she did.
So she's not from the HR background as such.
No, zero HR background. It's just that I didn't have time, right, to do the initial lead. So I my co-founder, everyone, we named her as the HR manager and all. That's how it happens in a startup. And we went on to the journey, and she started getting leads on, hey, these are some of the people who have shown interest and who wants to join in. Okay, and I start interviewing. That's it. There is no like what I'm used to in my previous organizations, like 2-3 rounds of interviews by the juniors, and then it comes to myself, and then I approve. Out of 5, I choose 3, and then I finish it off. Something like that. It was from the start to the end. I was the guy interviewing and getting things done, and me, my co-founder. Okay, right. So together, but that's how it went. But but I was actually very surprised. I was very surprised that there are a lot of people who are hungry for that knowledge, who knows, and early young kids, which is fantastic. And that's where the spirit of India goes, that young kids are waiting to take that plunge. It's not that a guy from IIT Roorkee can't have any other job. So there's a lot of talking which I have to do, obviously, about the job, okay, about the work, about the role, about life in Kuala Lumpur. Everybody will not come to a different country. They might want to stay back into their own country. That added to a big challenge as well. Yeah. And some people were ready to take an international opportunity. But what's important is that when they understood what we are trying to develop and what they are getting to learn, okay, that's what interests them. And believe me, a lot of changes have happened. A lot of people have moved out. Every one of them is in one of the best either universities in the world or in one of the best companies working today at a very, very senior level, which, had they gone the usual route, would have been very difficult for them. Because here, from a software developer to a solution architect, you are getting a complete know-how. From a software developer, they don't know how a supply chain function operates or a sales function operates. They just know, I have to do this, and then I have to write these codes and I have to get my job done. There are 3 more senior software developers, product architect. It's their job to look at it. Here it is not the case. A software developer understands how the business runs. I take the software developer to a business meeting, sit down with them, and that guy explains, okay, how this is run and how it will help you. So imagine that knowledge.
And on the other side, you also would not have any experience of how a software is developed, right? So you are also Absolutely. Learning, right, on that part, which otherwise you wouldn't have any exposure to, right?
Absolutely. So I was a complete business guy. I am back into business. But a lot of changes happened because I didn't know how to write a line of code. Okay, and at my level out there, probably I never need to. But now I can appreciate I might not be able to write a lot of coding even today, but I know what goes behind it. What are the building blocks? How the architecture is done? How codes are written in Python or R or a Java or a different software and a different language, and how they all stack up and add up, and then finally the thing is getting delivered. So to me, this entire software thing was kind of a black box, which I'm sure it is to a lot of people, usually from a business background. Ki, yaar, mujhe nahi pata kya kar rahe, yaar, let them do what they want to do. Just give us the product. But now I can proudly say I know each and every building blocks of how this thing is done. I'm more aware of those things, you know. But just to complete that, Rishi, we got so many brilliant minds joining us. I had to do a lot of talking. They believed in the idea, they believed in the work, and also they believed in the person, because and your personal network helps you a lot. So I got a lot of people from General Mills, from various other companies who worked with me in the past and had enjoyed working with me. So that helped out. So they were ready to take the plunge and said, "No, Sam, we believe you. Let us come there and see. Jo hoga dekha jayega." So we
Great.
went through a lot of tough times as well, but then yeah, that's how it happened.
Okay. So then how did you exit, and why did you exit from there, from the Kuala Lumpur?
And before that, I think one important thing happened. Okay, and so we were client based, okay, and we did something for the client. Client accepted it in some parts, not accepted it, whatever. But then we were so happy with our products. You know, we thought that, oh, anybody can buy it. It doesn't work that way. I mean,
Yes.
you put so much into it and you feel that, oh, I have developed it for a client, and B, C, D, E, F, somewhere sitting in the world will buy it. Why will they buy? Who knows what you have done for one client? You must have done some good job or not so good job. I don't even know your name, just because your software works. Because, and true to their thoughts, because, because they don't even know whether your startup is going to exist tomorrow or not.
Yeah, and I think that's the risk that a lot of companies worry about, right? How long will you be there? What if you disappear tomorrow? Then they are at their processes at risk, which is a valid thought, honestly. But yeah,
Very, very valid thought. So,
that we
right. So there was a transition which was happening. We stumbled upon a product. Now, that is the
okay.
thing which is still live and which is going on and which is doing
Okay.
good. We stumbled. So basically, these were like 3-4 failures or learnings, and finally we landed up in an artificial intelligence product. Okay, I knew zero about that. No knowledge about what AI and a ML is, right? But then it is all about in a poultry industry and a poultry farm. How do I monitor the weights? I'll not get into the details of it, but then how do I not touch the bird, okay, and get a good sample size in a poultry farm? If you see a poultry farm in India, it's around 20,000 birds or so, 20,000 birds at the max in a farm, or 5,000 birds, or also a farm is for 5,000 birds, small farms. If you go to the outside country, it's like 300,000 birds in one farm, one shed, and there could be 20 different sheds like that. So that's the volume of chicken which gets. So it's very important to know what is the sample size, what is the weight on a daily basis, and what is the likelihood, what is the predictability of the growth, because for a livestock, for a chicken or a fish or whatever, size matters. The bigger the size, the better is your yield, right? You earn more money because you're putting in so much of food, medicines, real estate, time, effort, money, everything. But then the bigger the size. So how do I monitor the growth and predict the growth without touching the chicken was the exercise. And we developed a IoT device. We put in different type of cameras out there, and we put a mini computer out there, and then single board computer, and then we started the machine learning exercise. A lot of codes were written on C++, which is the mother of all languages, I would say. And you are actually capturing 1 month or a full cycle of images of the bird, starting from a small bird, from a hatchling to the biggest size when they are getting harvested, and noting their movements, moving around, what is the size, shape, dimension, and doing the machine learning. That is a true machine learning exercise I have done through computer vision. And then out of that machine learning, you derive the AI tool, saying that, oh, now if I see a bird, I can tell you what with a 99% or 98% predictive accuracy, I can tell you what is the weight of the bird is just by looking at the shape. So that was the product. And that was a totally different journey. I came back from Malaysia to India first. I didn't join Welspun earlier. I came back from Malaysia to India, moved into a lot of farms, okay, stood in the chicken poop day in and day out and did those machine learnings. Okay, so those are difficult stuff. You have to stay there, invest your time with your team. Now suddenly your team, who are fantastic software engineers, is out of business and they're chicken experts. Okay, and that's the beauty of a startup. that
Yes.
you don't decide. It comes your way and you keep on learning. So we are spending most of our time in the chicken sheds in India, because Malaysia, they won't allow us to get into the sheds. In India, at least they allow us in some of the sheds. So we are trying to do the machine learning techniques, get the IoT done, sitting in some small karkhana out here, taking the help of some small time electricians, because you cannot afford a big company, and making your device, and then getting out into the market and selling. Now that's a whole different challenge altogether, right? Again, the product journey is different, and then the sales journey is different. And coming back to your question, that's the time, I think we ran completely out of our funds. Okay, so we got some funding, we managed it. A lot of people trusted, but you can sustain only so much. Okay, for a long time, these all look very rosy if the cash comes in every month. If it doesn't, then after a point of time, you feel like, my goodness, my family is not able to sustain anymore. Okay, I have my home loans which are pending. I have to give them. I can't wait. And I had to kind of move out, and I started looking out for more, stable jobs, and where I could make a difference. And that's how I landed up in Welspun. Of course, I had some good opportunities coming my way, because people did value the entire experience and the entire journey. But then I chose Welspun because this is where I got to operate like a startup, and I'm still kind of operating like a startup. So I was absolutely so lucky and so privileged to get into Welspun, because here I'm heading the entire function. So I'm bringing in a lot of difference. There were a lot of broken processes, broken pillars, but those were so much fun to me, because I have seen much broken processes before, right? So this was like a cakewalk to me, and of course a lot of hard work, but so far so good, very successful journey, and I'm enjoying every bit of it.
Right. And did you also interview with other companies apart from Welspun when you were coming back? And how was the response of somebody who's been out of the big because that's another worry that people have, right?
Yes,
that you're out, and then how do you come back in, right? So how was that experience?
I will tell you very honestly, when so how I chose the companies I applied for, also through networking, was a little different. I did not want to go back to the super heavy companies which are like Fortune 500, because I have already tested that, and I know that these are my boundaries, my limitations, and I can do only so much, right? With all due respect to them. That was one thing which was going at the back of my mind. That is number one. The other thing was around a lot of companies, when I applied, they did not encourage, because they said, oh, you don't have a proper branded company background and all. So that is the truth. People, they did. So they were like, okay, you know what, had you last been in General Mills, we would have happy to offer you probably double of what you are asking, but we can't justify it to our thing. So I think it's a loss for them, because first of all, they should encourage this, because a person who has gone through this journey, I mean, you have to give that person a chance to see that what difference that this person bring onto the table. On the other hand, there were companies who were so impressed, and they were like, hey, I want you to come and join ASAP. Okay, how soon can you come and join? Because this is the type of person, a startup spirit, a startup experience we want, and that person to do it in the department or in our company. So there has been companies, be it pharma, be it FMCG, be it Welspun, all these companies wanted someone who has been through this grill and understands various departmental challenges, and have done this. So it's a mix. It is
so it's a mix. Both exist.
Both exist. But I think that there is always someone to appreciate. You have to keep on searching while, and if anybody wants to come back. So that's always there.
Okay. So I would say that it is encouraging to know that there is a mix, and there is no, there are good number of companies who want and appreciate this experience, right? So which should be very encouraging for people, and I think those companies benefit as well from people like you. And let's talk about that. We are almost there. So let's talk about what's different in your mindset in your role in Welspun now. Say if you had joined a similar role directly from General Mills versus when you're doing now, what is a big difference that your thinking is going through, and which is helping the company as well, according to you?
You know, big difference. First difference is that I can understand the pain of my MD, of the founder. That's the big difference.
Well said.
Earlier,
Yeah.
I was busy understanding my own pain. Forget about my MD, or the founder, or the head of the company, or the owner. I was busy understanding not even my sales team's pain. I can't understand that person's pain, right? But since I've gone through the grill, when that person talks about and talks about, yeah, this is because of you, or if your action, if you do this, this is going to happen, I totally relate to that, and then I put my interests at the back, and then I look at the front in terms of like how will a little bit of a loss of supply chain or a little bit of hard work for supply chain could benefit the company a lot in different aspects, in different ways. That is one aspect from the at a very high level. So I can relate and I can think like a founder, okay, which puts me kind of at a different, I can find myself at a different note than others as well, because others might just think from their perspective, which is always very helpful. The other is that from the time I have joined till now, I've seen the change in me. Had I directly joined from General Mills or Unilever, was that all my support functions or all my collaborative functions, be it sales, finance, everything, since I have done bits and pieces of all, and I've faced all the pains, I understand the pain completely, okay, and relate to their pain completely, so I can understand, relate, and articulate it to my team in a much more better way, rather than kind of trying to defend my team's thought process and my work, and kind of push certain things on here and there. So that is something which is a big change which has happened. In the short term, you might feel that oh, I'm accepting some defeats, or my team member may say, "Arey sir, ye kya zarurat tha?" We can always say that this has happened. But in the longer term, people will understand you as a leader. Okay, people will appreciate you as a holistic person rather than just thinking about your own small department. Okay, so because for a consumer out there in the market, he doesn't give a damn whether Samrat runs a sales team or a supply chain team, or he has won in an email argument. He doesn't give a damn. For him, if the product reaches to him on time and he's getting the best designs, best product, best advertisements, and he's happy, if he's happy, we are happy. So if our pagar has to happen, we got to stop thinking like silos, and we got to all collaboratively work. And if we have to go, so for an example, probably in a company like Welspun or a General Mills, you don't have to probably think about pagar, but you have to think about the growth, right? If your growth has to happen, you have to think in a much more collaborative way. So that is one big learning, other than all the small battles wherein every small thing used to bother me earlier. I might not get my sleep. There, when I was in Delhi, if the bikers are not paid on time, their salary is just 12,000 rupees in a month, and they're not paid for 2 months of their salaries, they can't feed their child. They can't go to any extreme. They can take any step, and which I don't even want to mention. They can surround you or do anything, right? So I used to lose my sleep then, but when I think of the other corporate challenges, I get a very peaceful sleep. I think that those challenges are much more easier to handle than what I have handled. So that inner strength, I think, is what Rishi, that gets built in you.
I think very well said, Samrat. I don't think so there could have been a better answer to this question. What I hear, that you become a better people's person, you collaborate better, and like you said, you think like your MD, and I'm sure it helps you form a better, stronger relationship with the CEO, which I see in your case. Honestly, with both the CEOs of Welspun that you have seen, so and they have somebody who can think like them, and it's very well said. Those email battles don't matter anymore. right? So does that make you a different manager as well from the hiring perspective? Now, if somebody comes to you with a startup experience, I'm sure you would value that more than the other degrees and brand names that.
So absolutely, and Rishi, during the startup time, um, uh, and this question takes me back when I was hiring for startup, because you could offer only so much of a salary in a startup, right? I don't consider Amazons of the world and the Flipkarts as startups now. They're like huge MNC. Anyone says, they say to me that, oh, I'm joining a startup named Amazon. I said, dude, you are not joining a startup. They're a big established company. A startup is like where you are literally at the first batch, or probably a 1 or 2 round of funding. That's where you get that experience, with all due respect to the others. So I was looking for 2 things in a person when I was joining in, when I was taking them in. I put the pedigree was not the first which I used to put them as when I was hiring for the startup. It was probably one of the supporting aspects, okay, but not that, oops, he's a IITN, again with all due respect, or a IIM guy, so he's the best, just hire him. No, sorry, we didn't have the luxury of funds. We had to be very choosy, and we have to get the right guy. So skill set is something which was highest at my this thing, and the second more higher than that was the attitude. So these 2 things was the only 2 combinations which I was looking at while I was hiring for startups. Okay, and if that attitude is there, that kar lunga, I can manage everything, give it to me and I'll work and I'll make sure it is done. What things can't be learned? Everything can be learned if you have the right attitude and you have the right skill set, right? Okay, I can't take a chaiwala and just bring them and say ki nahi tum abhi Python ka programming karo. That will be a stupid move probably. But if that person has the right skill set, hire karo. So I started applying that out here, and largely I'm very happy with the recruit I've got. There were people who were not having jobs because they were in startups and they were out of business due to COVID and all, but fantastic skill set and the right attitude. Immediately, I hired them, and they're so happy, and they are over performing. So that thing always helped me, that mindset change. Otherwise you get into that guided principles. Okay, best college, then X number of experience, then skill set, and then the HR part comes in. For me, probably the attitude is the first one, and then the other thing which kicks in. Yeah, so that's the mindset change which happened in me also. Let's see how
I feel what you think about in the bigger company is how things can change to imbibe these things from a startup experience. 2 ways. One is the hiring itself for attitude, like you said, and that I totally agree. The second one is giving people experience of cross-functional domains, right? And I know that HR again has this very strong line in any JD that you see should have so much years of relevant previous experience. So if you are not done sales, then you cannot ever get into sales in a big company, right?
True.
According to you, from your experience, and because it benefits the organization so much itself, shouldn't they at least internally encourage such movements so that people have that experience? And I don't see that happening very often in any big corporate. It's just the vertical movements, but very less horizontal movements. So what's your thought process on that?
So true. And the reason why that also happens, Rishi, is that you get so deep. The more you are staying in one function, you're getting deeper and deeper. The more you are getting deeper, that's the truth. The salary range increases. The more you spend time in one function, the more your salary increases, your designation increases. Now you become probably a master of the domain, and you with a fat salary and with a good designation. And suddenly I can't just move you to another grade, right? Or I can't move you to the head of sales, like you're a head of analytics out here. I can't just move you to the head of sales because that is a risky move, right? That's quote unquote a risky move. But then you can't even go down and say that, oh, let me start off from the basics. Certain things won't matter. So I think that movement, while you are in the journey, that movement has to happen. Different ideas.
Somewhere in the middle management level, probably not at a very senior level, but yeah.
And I one company I worked with, Unilever, does that fantastically. They have these rotation programs, very, very well defined programs where you move from one function to the other, keep spending time, and then you gain as your holistic experience. Okay, and a lot of companies are starting to do that. In Welspun also I see that happening, but you are right, many companies are yet to value that and adapt that. You have to break that chain. Okay, and if someone wants to stay in that domain and wants to be the master, that's fine, but then don't restrict anyone. Try and uh, have a more holistic career development, that you will have less attritions as well. You'll have less attritions, you'll get the best minds moving around, because एक ही चीज कर करके that person might get bored and then leave to a different, and you also have your limitations. You can't give that growth, right? Beyond a certain, you can't make him a demand planning director. After some time, probably someday that roles will come in, I'm sure. But today it is not there. So what do you do with that person? How do you move that person to plant, to sales? It's a lovely organization, has so many functions. You've got to move them. Yeah.
Absolutely. By the way, I was just remembering that in Apple, I was shocked in those days, but that's the only company I've seen where the finance directors would become sales directors. That kind. I was wondering how, but then later I understood probably that kind of organization it's possible. So one last question before I open it up to a few others who are on the call is, once you have tasted the startup experience environment, you kind of crave for it, according to me, right? And while you are even going to a bigger corporate, you are somewhere wanting that kind of experience and not get into a very structured process. I was in fact talking to a friend of mine who has just moved back to a corporate from a startup, and the only thing he's not liking that he has a very defined day. And earlier he was telling me, earlier you would think so many things during the day, you have to do this also, that also. Now there is no reason for him to think, but he's missing that. He knows what he has to complete in a day or a month, and he's very structured because his role is defined. So I think you are in a very good place, because Welspun, especially India business, is that kind of a startup within a bigger company, right? So you think this is where people like you and me would want to be, rather than going back to a very structured cubicle where you would have 9 to 5?
I agree, Rishi. Means had I been doing some of the same stuff which I have done before, I would have got bored, and I don't know, means probably financial wise I would have been okay, but I would have been, means what am I doing? I would have been asking myself, what am I doing? Fortunately, in a company like Welspun, I am getting to experience best of both the worlds. So nothing like it. Okay, no complaints at all. But that's while you are coming back from a startup experience, okay, with that fantastic experience, you got to choose very carefully, which I have done. So I had a couple of offers with me, but I was really, really choosy in terms of, so Welspun was the role I am in now, and when I joined in, was the least coziest job among all the other jobs which I had. They were pretty defined. I knew what to be done, and this was the least coziest job. It was completely haywire. And my CEO, when she talked to me, she said that things are in a complete mess. I mean, nothing is structured. Everything is running hunky-dory into the supply chain space. So we need someone to calm down things and make things in control, get the various supply chain functional aspects in. So I thought, wow, this is the best thing. This is what I love to do, right? And I just plunged into that opportunity. I had sleepless nights, but I enjoyed every night of that. So it was a good experience.
So I'm really glad how we closed this discussion. When you were telling about your plunge from GM to the startup in Delhi, and I asked you whether you got this thought of what am I doing, and now you're saying that if you had gone back to General Mills kind of a place after this, you would have had the same thought, what am I doing here? So it's like, that's how it goes.
So probably a different role in General Mills, I don't know. But the same role what I was doing would have been definitely a big boredom for me.
I totally get that and relate to it. Wonderful, Samrat. What a wonderful discussion this was. I would allow some of the other people who are on the call to ask their questions to you, and I'll be quiet for some time. Guys, it's open. You can ask Samrat anything. Anybody who's planning to take a plunge or planning to come back, I don't know what stage you are in, but go ahead and ask.
So Samrat, I have a question for you. Sheetal here.
Yeah, Sheetal, hi.
Hi. So Samrat, when say we are looking for joining a startup, what are the criterias you think people should look at while taking that decision, making that decision of joining a startup?
Good question. And thousands of things crossed my mind when I was actually, Sheetal, to your question, um, that what is the right criteria. Um, Unfortunately, at that point of time, I didn't get any rule book or anyone saying me, hey, these are the 5 A, B, C, D, E which you have to search. I did my searches on net. I did here and there. I mean, everything was very blurry. Okay, you go. Somebody says, great. Somebody says, not so great. So you get all mixed reactions. Then I understood that it is probably on that person to decide what that person wants to do. What is the criteria for that person? Get into the details of the role which is being offered and understand whether it suits your needs or not. Nobody external, they can give you a lot of probably advice, which is great, but they cannot, there is no rule book, in short. So some of the things which I looked at, okay, and which could be different from different people, is that first of all I was trying to see, and again being very candid here, is that your salary value aa na. So that is the very important thing, because you have to pay your finances. Okay, first thing is that, okay, if it comes, things can happen later, but later is fine, but let me at least make sure that is working. When that part, personal part, is taken care of, that then the second part which crossed my mind, and I did a lot of research, was that the field I am getting into, okay, how will it benefit me, okay, in terms of the learning. So the only thing, Sheetal, which I went for in a startup, other than at that point of time thinking that, oh, this startup could be a multi-billion-dollar startup, which every person thinks. Of course, that is the optimism you have to have. Otherwise, why are you getting into a startup space, right? Is the second part is the learning. So I was so open to learning that am I getting a lot of things to learn, be it at the practical end of sometimes getting into sitting in your biker's pillion seat and going to your customer and getting that experience, consumer, and getting that experience, or running the entire show. That was very important for me. Finance basic सीख sales भी सीख ये भी सीख that is one criteria. Third one was the people with whom I'll be working with. Okay, whether it was my co-founder, my boss. So because you don't have the luxury of getting a lot of yarn from cross-functional people, because you don't have cross-functional people. You are the only people, handful of people out there. So whom do you get to learn from? The people whom you look up to. And those are the people I looked up to, and I really hold them in high regard. And I learned so much from them. So that was the third thing I looked at. And so one of them was, he was the ex-director of MIT Boston, okay, and Cambridge. And he opened up the next startup. And brilliant mind, Dr. Mahinder Singh, brilliant mind, one of the very few brilliant minds I have seen in my small experience which I have. That helped me to shape a lot of my thought processes, okay, and I really value those learnings, okay, because that's a mentor I looked up to. I'm getting to work with the ex-director of supply chain in MIT. I mean, how can I even think of not working with the person and getting that experience from him? He's going to give you the entire download of his experience if I have a good interaction with him. And I got that. So those are the few things, Sheetal, which crossed my minds, and I valued those more than anything else. But for everyone, things could be different, very different. There is no right answer to this.
I
Sorry if I
agree.
couldn't give you a right answer, but
No,
yeah,
no,
that
no,
is it.
Samrat. I think the points that you have mentioned, those are the critical points when we have to look at while joining a startup. I could relate to it. I could understand that. So thanks for your views.
Sure.
Anybody else? All right. In case, so since people do not have questions right now, for those of you who are listening to this recording, Samrat is on Gap platform. So if you want to ever touch base with with him, I'm sure Samrat, you would be happy to help people with their questions or any doubts they have. He is one of our supporting members. So feel free to reach out to him. And thanks so much, Samrat. I thoroughly enjoyed this discussion. It was really wonderful knowing your journey and all the lessons. I could relate to a lot of them. In fact, all of them being in the startup. And I'm sure everybody would benefit, those who were looking for this topic. That's where we found you to be the best person to do it. So thanks so much, and you have a great weekend ahead. Thanks everybody for joining in. Bye-bye till the next Cup Shop Talk. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Rishi, Sheetal, and thanks everyone for joining in.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.